The rain was coming down in sheets when the woman stumbled into the yellow glow of the streetlight. Her hair clung to her face. Her coat was torn at the sleeve, and every step looked like it might be her last. She raised her hand weakly as a car slowed beside her, her voice barely cutting through the storm. "Please see broken bar, can you take me to the hospital?" The driver hesitated, knuckles tightening on the steering wheel, because he was a single dad with a sleeping child in the backseat and a life that had already taught him how dangerous trust could be. He had no idea that this one decision, made in the rain, would change all of their lives forever. Before we go any further, if stories that touch the heart and remind us of humanity still matter to you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us till the end because what happens next will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. David Hale had learned how to say number after his wife died 3 years earlier. He learned it fast. No to late nights, no to risks, no to anything that might put his daughter Lily in danger. Lily was 6, curled up in her booster seat with a pink blanket, breathing softly after a long evening of homework and cartoons. David had promised himself he'd never let anything happen to her, so when he saw the woman on the roadside, his first instinct was to keep driving. But then she staggered, nearly collapsing, and for a split second he saw his late wife's face in her eyes of fear mixed with hope. He pulled over. She struggled to the passenger door, hands shaking as she grabbed the handle. "Thank you," she whispered, collapsing into the seat. David noticed how pale she was, how her breathing came in shallow gasps. "Hospital," she repeated. "Please." He nodded and pulled back onto the road, heart pounding. "I'm David," he said gently. "What's your name?" She swallowed. "Sarah." As they drove, Lily stirred in the back. "Daddy?" she murmured. David glanced in the mirror. "It's okay, sweetheart, go back to sleep." Sarah watched this exchange with something like longing. "You're a good father," she said softly. David gave a tired smile. "I try." The hospital was 20 minutes away, and with every mile Sarah's condition seemed to worsen. She pressed a hand to her side, breathing faster now. David's mind raced, old instincts surfacing. Instincts he'd buried under years of pretending to be just another exhausted parent. He adjusted his speed, checking her pupils when she turned toward him. "How long have you been in pain?" he asked. "All day," she whispered. "Yeah, broken bar, I didn't have anyone to ask. No phone, no money." Her voice cracked. "I was banded this morning." Something in her words hit him hard. He knew that kind of loneliness. When they reached the emergency entrance, David parked and jumped out, rushing to her side. Nurses hurried over with a wheelchair. "She's in severe abdominal pain," David said quickly. "Possible internal bleeding." One of the nurses glanced at him, surprised. "Are you medical?" David shook his head. "Just a broken bar, guessing." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. They took Sarah inside, and David followed with Lily, now awake and clutching his hand. Hours passed in the harsh white light of the waiting room. Lily fell asleep again, head on his shoulder. David's thoughts drifted back to the life he'd left behind. Once, he'd been Dr. David Hale, one of the youngest trauma surgeons in the city. Once, he'd saved lives every night. Then the accident took his wife, and guilt took everything else. He quit medicine, convinced that if he couldn't save the person he loved most, he didn't deserve to save anyone. A doctor finally approached. "Family of Sarah?" David stood. "I brought her here," he said. "She's alone." The doctor sighed. "She's critical. Ruptured appendix. Infection spreading fast. We're prepping for surgery." David closed his eyes. He knew the signs. He knew how little time she had. "She needs immediate intervention," he said quietly. The doctor nodded. "We're doing what we can." But something went wrong. The surgery was delayed, and no consent form, no insurance, no next of kin. Bureaucracy slowed everything. David watched the clock, each second screaming in his head. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He marched to the desk. "She doesn't have time," he said firmly. "You need to operate now." The nurse bristled. "Sir." Please see. David straightened, voice calm but unyielding. "I'm Dr. David Hale, former head of trauma surgery at Street Marks, and if you don't operate in the next 10 minutes, she will go septic." The room fell silent. Another doctor recognized his name, eyes widening. Within moments, everything moved. Sarah was rushed into surgery. David sat back down, shaking now. Lily still asleep against him. He had crossed a line he thought he never would again. Hours later, the surgeon came out, smiling. "She's stable. You were right. Another half hour and we might have lost her." David nodded, tears finally breaking free. Relief washed over him like the rain outside. When Sarah woke, David was there. She looked at him with confusion, then recognition. "You stayed," she said. He smiled gently. "Someone once stayed for me when I needed it." She learned the truth that died at the tired single dad who'd stopped for her was the very doctor who saved her life. She cried, thanking him over and over. "I don't know how to repay you," she said. David glanced at Lily, now awake and coloring quietly. "Live," he said. "That's enough." Weeks later, Sarah had recovered. She found work, a small apartment, and a new confidence she hadn't felt in years. She and David stayed in touch, bound by that night, and slowly, David felt something in himself heal. He returned to medicine, part-time at first, then fully, with Lily cheering him on. He learned that saving one life can sometimes save your own. And so this story leaves us with the simple truth: you never know who the stranger beside you really is, or how one act of kindness can ripple into miracles. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that compassion still exists in a rushed and broken world, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Because sometimes, the help we're begging for comes from the most unexpected place here, and sometimes, we are that help for someone else.